Starting in 5, 4, 3. Good morning, Chris. I don't know what got into me. I don't know why I did that. How are you, man?
I do appreciate the fact that you've passed the phase where you try to sing the words of the opening.
Impossible. It's impossible to do.
The funny part is that Stephanie asked us the other day, it's like, look, I got to finally ask the question, what are the words saying in the opening?
Bucket.
Yeah, duh.
It's best as I can get.
Anthony, what does your winter fat turn into?
I'm sorry, what?
What does your winter fat turn into?
I know what causes it. I don't know.
Spring rolls.
Speaking of dad jokes, my wife said my dad jokes were immature. Can you believe that?
No.
I told her to get
out.
out.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I told her to get out of my fort and hand me my whoopee cushion back.
Get out of my fort.
You can
My
picture
couch
me.
fort's mine.
You can picture me in a fort.
That is, I mean, I've never actually been to your home office. Do you kind of have like keep out sign on the door and no girls allowed?
No girls allowed. No, I was the opposite of that. I liked girls.
Oh, well, I liked girls too, just they didn't like me back very much.
Fair.
It's fine. Yeah, exactly. It's how most people feel about me, Anthony. Anthony, what happens to who you are when you sell the company that defines you? Wow, big question. Norm Brodsky built City Storage into a document storage empire before selling for over $100 million. The deal made him rich and left him wondering who he was without it. Today on How to Founder, we're going to be talking about the emotional impact of selling your business and why the founder who holds on too long pays a price no deal can offset. I am your host, Chris Franks. With me, Mr. Anthony Franco. We are joined today from the mean streets of Berlin, Germany. Are they mean streets? I don't know if they're mean streets.
They're actually quite nice.
Not mean at all. Yeah.
Very friendly.
Yeah, I'm in Cherry Creek in Denver. That's probably the meanest streets on this phone call.
I just realized that I don't have a Berlin dad joke. I have a dad joke. I have a lot of dad jokes, but I don't have a
Give us a dad joke.
Berlin dad joke. Well, my favorite dad joke is this. Where does George Washington keep his armies?
Where does George Washington keep his armies, Veronica?
In his sleeveys. And Chris is out. End of podcast. We're done.
That'll do it. Thanks for joining us today on How to Founder.
Best guest dad joke right there, Chris. That was the best guest dad joke.
We have done 189 episodes of this show, Veronica, and that was the mic drop dad joke. Veronica Zora Kirin is a serial founder, 2 times TEDx speaker, an anthropologist who spent 15 years helping grow stage businesses through the paradigm shifts that define their exits, and is world-renowned as the best dad joke teller of all time. Welcome, Veronica. Thank you for joining us on How to Founder.
Wait till you see my TED Talk.
As an anthropologist, could you do a TED Talk about why we find dad jokes so funny?
Why haven't I thought of that before? I could do another PhD on that. That would be great. Seriously.
I mean, we're very big in the research and PhD community, so we're just throwing that out there, PhDs. If you, aspiring PhDs, looking for something.
Bring it. Which, by the way, just as a reminder, university is free in Germany, so come on over. It's very nice here.
I mean, you say that until everybody starts showing up, and then you have a bunch of texts.
That's why I'm like going to do another degree. Like I'm in the process of applying. I'm like, I got to do it while it's still free, man. I got to do it.
That's pretty true. All right,
Yes,
so
indeed.
let's talk about this. You've studied, as an anthropologist, you've studied this concepts of paradigm shifts, and most founders treat this idea of selling their company, I certainly did, as a finish line.
Yeah.
Anthony, like you and I have been through this, and we started this podcast partially as a result to the existential crisis I was feeling after selling my last company.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're like, okay, so it's this rush to the finish. You're finding a buyer, you're working with the broker, you're getting all your papers and documents, you're working with all of the experts, you're vetting each other, you're vetting the company. It's like insane, the amount of work that goes into that sales process. And then there's this one day where you all get together and there's a stack of papers and you're signing things and somebody hands you a check and you're like, okay, this is more money than I've ever held in my hand in my life. And you have to like shuttle it. I just like remember going to the bank being like, nothing better happened to me between here and the bank. Cause I like, what am I going to do? And then you go home and you're done. It's like falling off a cliff. It's insane. And it doesn't matter how many activities you had planned for yourself. It's still night and day activity wise. Like it just, existential crisis is a really, really good way to put it, Chris.
Anthony, the one thing that is universally true is that I've exited a few companies, you've exited more, is that when you get to that finish line, you don't celebrate, you just want to sleep, right? It's just, you're just exhausted.
Well, it's not, first of all, I've never had one that I would call, it had a finish line. I've talked about this before where I've had 6 exits and not a single champagne cork moment. It is not that they weren't successful, but it just never worked out that way, because the moment that exit happens, there's transition, there's things you have to deal with. There's real work to get done after it.
Yeah.
And I allowed myself a guilty pleasure every once in a while. For example, I bought myself a Segway back when you could buy Segways. That was my thing.
I remember you riding around downtown Denver with Segway.
Did you flip yourself? Did you get the gears?
No, but I mean, but in reality, it wasn't an existential crisis for me though either. So I want to hear you guys talk about that, because I didn't all of a sudden didn't know who I was at that point. I thought I was I thought I changed, but I wasn't lost.
Interesting. Yeah, because I had actually already built for myself a consulting company. So I was already kind of like acting like I had sold the company because I knew I needed something to go into afterwards. I mean, I was 30, 28. I don't remember how old I was. But obviously I needed something to do afterwards, and I was already taking action in that way. But I built something that people identified me with first and foremost, right? So like when I went out into the world, when I went out into the city, people wanted to know how the business was. And then the business was gone. They relied on me as an expert within what that business did. And now again, that was no longer part of my portfolio. So then that was a difference as well. And for me, like when I build a business, it does feel a little bit like a baby. You're pulling something out of your head, you're grooming it, you're hoping it will grow, you're telling everyone how proud you are of it, all of its achievements. It's like a child. And I felt very much like when I sold my company that I had sent it to university. I felt like I couldn't parent the company any further. There were many reasons I sold, but that was one of them, that I felt like it was time for me to let it go, because otherwise I was going to start being the bottleneck in the company. And it's still alive today. I sold the company in 2018, and I'm thankful that I found the person I found, because it's still going. So I did the homework the right way, but now it's gone. And so there's an inevitable vacuum regardless of whether or not you feel like you would define it as a drop off. In my opinion, Chris, I'm sure you have an entirely different perspective having done it 4
No,
times.
I think it's been exactly my experience, but I want to cover just some of the fundamentals here, because a lot of people, we sort of cater, Veronica, to early stage founders that haven't gone through this stuff. And there's typically 2 things that will happen. And the first one is, thank you very much. Here is the check. We're going to turn off your email. And thank you. We really appreciate it. Here's the door.
Get out.
Anthony, when you sold Effective, I know you went in-house with the company that acquired you. Oftentimes there is some sort of an earnout, there's some sort of a work, there's some sort of transitionary period. Both of those things can cause challenges, but I want to talk about the second one first, Anthony. That earnout, the idea that you're now working for the company that acquired you. Just briefly tell the story about what happened when you went in any of the companies, but I was thinking Effective.
Well, I thought I was going to go in. So we were acquired by a large holding firm of ad agencies. And my company was kind of a odd duck in that group because we did software and UX. And I thought I was going to go in and become a hotshot ad exec. And be part of the guys that wear patches on their sport coats. I thought I was going to be part of that crowd, Ferragamo shoes and sweaters over my shoulder. And I was really quickly disabused of that. I was, maybe that was an existential crisis. I thought I was going to be somebody I wasn't. And realized very quickly that I was nothing like those people. Not that they were bad or good. It was just, I was so different and such a bad culture fit. That I had to kind of re-engineer what I was going to be after that integration. You as a founder going back into a regular company, no matter what it is really hard.
I've never heard it working, Veronica. Have you? I've never heard of something.
I know people that have done it, and I look at them like they're aliens. I don't understand it.
I'm the same.
It's odd.
Yeah, I know people that have done it too. Yeah, you're right, Veronica.
Yeah. Anthony, would you say it's like, so when you have to do your earnout, because I did a short earnout at mine, but I did my job very well. So I'm a scaling expert. So I scaled the company, like just major hustle, scale the company, document everything, get the systems in place. So it's super sellable. It was so sellable that they hardly needed me afterwards, even though I technically had an earnout. But would you say that it's like you've graduated from high school and then a year later or 2 years later, you go back to visit your teachers and you're walking the hallways and everything's different. Nobody really recognizes you. You're this kind of ghost walking the halls of something that used to be familiar.
You're bringing back some high school trauma for me thinking about it that way. But, now that you say that, yeah, once I left, and would come back and visit, it was a little bit like that. And I don't know if that was good or bad, but it was a little kind of out of body experience. What about you?
Yeah, I would say same. I mean, the team that I had stayed on for, I think the director that I had was there for 3 or 4 years after the company sold. I mean, the team stayed for a long time, but it turned into this awkward thing. These people that I worked with very closely, all of a sudden, loyalty shifted technically, right? Now they have a new boss. So, my role in their lives is foreign and alien to them. I mean, I think employees, even when you've been groomed by somebody, your relationship, you don't know how to have a relationship with somebody who's technically no longer in that role, but was in that role, best we've got is if your team lead gets fired, that's what's more familiar. And also the clients, because there are clients that I brought into my company that are still there. And again, like I sold in 2018, they're still there, and they were my first clients. They're still there. And even then I felt like this warm, close relationship with them when we were working together. And obviously something was good because they're still there. But if I reached out to them today, it would be that same thing, this like kind of awkward, like, yeah, we worked closely together, but also like, but do we have a relationship now? I don't, like it's this awkward space.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing. I think so. I want to ask the other question. So there's two ways. Again, we just talked about you have to be there. It's very challenging. Anthony, one of our friends sold a company, 2 people on the cap table, like $80 million. And I said, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going back to be the CEO. It's like, you can't. Like, there's just no way that you now have like more money than your grandkids are going to spend. And you're going back, and he goes, but I love the company. I love the grind. I think there's this idea that you can just sort of stay. I think that in some cases, the employers do want you to stay. In some cases, they want you to get out of the way. And in some cases, which is the hardest, part of your compensation is an employment package where they're paying you a lot of money, but they don't really want you around. That's the big joke is always that you're a chief strategy officer at that point because you're zero, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're throwing off the balance of power. Like there has to be a transition. And so there's a new balance of power that has to settle, right? So like we're going back, the way paradigm shifts work is that there's always this like loosening of culture, whatever, in whatever respect, either personally or globally, and every scale in between. But there's this loosening, and then it has to settle again. There has to be a solidification again. And so if you are in that mix, in that loosening phase, it can really be unsettling for the new people who are trying to galvanize their new power within the organization. And then, it feels very awkward. Not to mention then, Chris, what you're saying, where like, if you were bought out, you now have a financial power happening and maybe even stock, whatever the structure was, the power is different for you regardless of the new leadership, right? Like you now are in a different relationship with the company and with the employees and with everybody because of the power, the financial power you now hold.
I think it's the thing that is most interesting as part of the conversation is that idea of relationships, is that they do shift and they do change. And employees are employees and founders are founders. And yes, that we feel very, very attached to the people that we work with and that help build the company. To the point with the last company I sold, I took my earnout, cut it in half, and gave them to my employees.
Wow.
But it was a nice move on my part. But then also, like, I don't know what I expected them to do, like to create a statue of me or something, like,
Statues are nice.
Yeah, I don't know what.
No, it's the opposite, because it's never like the feeling I got was that's all I'm getting. I got that a lot. Like, wait a minute.
Wow.
I've been here for 4 years and I'm only getting this much from the exit.
Wow.
It was a lot of disappointment I had to deal with.
Wow. Yeah. It's a whole different.
Yeah. Regardless, you're going to end up at the place. So the other part of that is that they say, thank you very much, shake your hand, give us your email and your login, and you go with God, right? That's regardless of whether or not you spend a transitionary time or you don't, you find yourself in this moment where you wake up one morning and you're not going into that place. For me, that was really hard. And it took a long time, and if I'm being honest, it was a mourning process.
Yes.
I had to mourn that part of my identity dying. I mean, talk about that, Veronica, because it is not something we talk about as founders. It's always celebrated as this big win, right?
Right. Yeah, of course, because you've reached the pinnacle. This is what entrepreneurship is. You're supposed to exit. Hallelujah. Good night. But it is a paradigm shift. And so if we think about that loosening, so on a personal level, we think about that loosening of your own culture. So every individual has a culture too. We call them habits. So your habits were wake up, get in the shower, check your email probably 3 times before you actually even go to the office, right?
Absolutely.
If you are going to an office, if you're me, I'm a work from home queen. I will,
Also,
I will
Anthony
not
doesn't
release.
really shower.
I
So
have
he just does
really,
Euro
Every
baths.
morning I shower, shave, and shine my shoes.
you betcha. That's right. That's exactly it. Yes. Yeah. That's what squatty potties are for. So
Great company. Great company.
so we have these habits. We have a personal paradigm that we're living in that's all of a sudden completely shattered. And that's what the morning is about. We noticed that I in my studies of paradigms, there's an understanding that there is a following similar to the stages of grief, and stages of grief are still, some people say they exist, some people they don't. They are variable and individual, and disclaimer, but they tend to follow grief because you are letting something go, even when it was a celebration. I mean, like, just to zoom out, I wanted to move to Germany. I still had to grieve my old life, right? So even when there's something good that has happened, you're still experiencing that paradigm shift, that shift in habits, as you said, Chris, the shift in identity, and it does mirror grief.
Anthony, we talk about this all the time, and the number one emotional mistake that all of us make every time, even though that we know it's wrong, is to say that we put so much of our emotion, our identity in the company we're founding. And so, famously, the late great Colin Powell said, avoid having your ego so close to your position that when your position fails, your ego goes with it. Mm-hmm. But it's almost inevitable, Anthony. Did you experience that part of your identity dies? It's part of this thing that you are, even if it's successful. And that's not something they tell you. I mean, oftentimes we talk about the failure aspect, but even when you win, there's a big transition.
I try not to have habits. So this is, I should
so
say,
that morning shower,
I try not to have good habits.
Yeah. I've got plenty of habits. None of them are what I would consider to be productive habits.
Excuse me.
Speaking of habits.
Speaking of habits, where's my cigarettes? So for me, that didn't land. It's not about habits. I don't know what it's about, but for me, that piece of it wasn't true. That doesn't mean that it's a data point of 1, but I didn't have an identity crisis. I just didn't. I was ready. When I sold, I was ready. It was almost like, whew, all right, that's out of the way. No more stress about exiting. And it was almost like, okay, what's now the next thing that I'm going to tackle?
Once again, Anthony, the outlier in this situation. Veronica,
it's really interesting because so I'm curious about, Anthony, if you were experiencing some burnout, because like I said, I had many reasons why I sold my company. One of them was burnout. And so I was really ready to let it go, but I also, I think, wasn't ready to let go of, I hate to say it this way, but like the power and the standing within the community. And then there were some other things that we haven't touched on, but do you think that there was some burnout that you were experiencing?
No, so I don't think it was burnout. I don't think burnout is a thing, honestly. And Chris and I have had this conversation quite a bit.
Psychologically.
I don't think, let me put it a different way. Burnout's not a thing for me. I get tired, I stop working. I get mentally exhausted, I take a step back. So I'm able to recognize it. I don't want to make this episode about me, but
maybe we want to.
Oh my gosh, I just lost the point.
Sorry.
Lost the point. Oh no. So what? So you're like, was it burnout? It's for me, I knew it was time to exit because I fell out of love with what we were doing. I didn't have love for it anymore. It's not that I didn't believe, I just didn't love it. And so Thankfully I was able to exit at the point where it's like, it didn't go 2-3 years where I was not in love with the thing, because that's a recipe for disaster. And I was able to exit it to somebody that did love what we did, and really wanted to elevate it and scale it at broader levels. So for me, it was just good timing.
Interesting.
Veronica, what was yours? So I was burned out. I was
Yeah.
classically burned out. I was exhausted. And then the exit process was brutal. And this is what they don't teach you, is that in most exits, you're going to sell the company, it's going to fall apart. You're going to sell the company, it's going to fall apart. There's this one sticking point that's like, okay, we're going to walk away. And then somebody gives at the last second. It's this constant brinksmanship almost. And
it's very much like a raise.
Yeah.
I would say it's like an opposite raise, because there's still all that due diligence. You still have to have, all of this documentation, all of this history. You have to have it all there, just like you would for a VC vetting process. And that's, we all know when we talk about startups. So again, you're talking about like, what do we talk about in business? We definitely talk about startups raising and how exhausting that is. Yes, the celebration, but we allow for the exhaustion. I think I had 2 prospects fall through before I found my person, but then I found my person and it was like that. Like we just like went through it. It still took, I think the total process was 8 months, but by then it just like, finally, I think the false starts had gathered everything together enough that then we could just go with it. But yeah, I think that there's something to be said about burnout leading to sale. It may not be the like main reason. A lot of times, it's age, it's just time, it's falling out of love, like Anthony said. But there's definitely a factor of burnout for some, because for some, there isn't the option to titrate back, either because of financial situation or familial situation or whatever the company is going through at the time. So then you can't manage your energy around it. You just have to keep going. And then that's a major point of falling out of love, I would say. Like that's the biggest one you can have, because it's something that's making you sick.
Why were you looking at us when you said age being a factor? Like why?
Because you're on my screen. Why did the chicken cross
the road?
You're
calling us old, Veronica.
Sometimes the obvious solution doesn't hit us.
Yeah, all right, so I want to then talk about, so let's assume for a second, and I know that the real core part of this episode is that when you should start to consider selling and when hanging on too long, but I think it's really, really important. One piece I just want to highlight from this last part of the conversation is that when somebody says they want to buy your company, that is not the finish line. Do not celebrate. Do not buy a bit of champagne, and that is not it. And so many times those deals fall apart. And it's like to the point now where like we're almost superstitious about it as founders, right, Veronica? Like,
I mean, it's like it's honestly. I was gonna compare it to dating apps, like it just like, oh yeah, like let's and then you get catfished. You're just like, what the fuck? No, what, who?
Right. But they're
this isn't why you represented yourself completely differently. But yeah, you're going to go through a cycle.
Yeah, there's a move, and it's not as common anymore, but it used to be a private equity move where somebody would come in and offer like their first offer would be a very, very nice offer and reasonable but high.
Yeah.
And then they tear you apart.
Yeah. It's so nice.
It's back after.
So good for your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a common move. It's not that uncommon.
No. And I mean, as somebody who had a income property as well, like the amount of like offers, like, hey, I'm interested, like, let's go. Hey, are you open to having a conversation? Like, it's just always this like, kind of like, there's a whole different conversation to be had about like, are you actually ready to sell? Are you really actually like, have you entered this conversation of your own free will, or is somebody dragging you into it? Like dangling a piece of chocolate at the end of a rope.
Well, let's follow that trail, because that is part of the next part of the conversation. So how should I, as a founder, start to know when I need to think about selling? There are tons of us out there that never even considered it. My last company that I sold was a services company. I didn't think I was going to be able to sell it. Certainly not for any, value really. And so when should I start? Yeah, you can.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story. There's a woman that I met when I was at a conference in Las Vegas, actually in the middle of the brokerage process. I don't think I had gotten very far down the rabbit hole yet, but I had engaged with the business broker, and I was just starting that process. And we had this woman and I had very similar organizations. Hers, I believe, was a UX UI company similar to what you were saying, Anthony. And I said, I'm working to process to sell my company. And she said, why? I said, well, I put a lot of work into it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm burned out. I don't want to be doing it. I kind of fell into my company, to be honest, because SEO, website development, all of that. It's what I had a background in, but before that, I was a disaster relief worker for the U.S. government, and I prefer to be in social impact. So it's just so happened I ended up, trying to help other small businesses get to the top of Google. And so I wasn't in love with it ever, I would say, but I enjoyed learning and growing with it. And then I was done growing with it. I wanted to sell it, and I was burnt out. And she was burnt out. And I said, why aren't you selling yours? You've been in business longer than me. She'd been in business for, I think, 8 years and had a great book of clients and customers. I mean, she had a good team, and she said, I'm done with it. And it felt really heartbreaking to me, because in my perspective, in my view, your time is an investment. It's common that the founder doesn't get paid very well, especially in the first few years of a company, right? And then where does that, kind of like back investment come from? Sometimes it comes from doing a raise or something like that. But oftentimes your true compensation is in selling the company. And I had all of the clients that trusted me, who had put their faith in our support, and my team that I had groomed. And I couldn't imagine just like letting them down. And so to see this woman just say, I'm done and I'm shutting it all down. Whereas you, Chris, said, like, I didn't know if I could get any money for it. And then turns out there's a true and real investment here, and a desirable, it's desirable to another company. So to me, this is a story just about, like, try it, like, just try it, get vetted by a business broker. If you feel like you're done, it's okay to be done, but get vetted, just try it out and see what happens, because there's probably a buyer out there. There's a buyer out there for everything, honestly. I mean,
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
But I think it's worth the try, like it's like no harm, no foul to give it a go.
Especially if you're profitable and your books are clean. If those two things are true, you're going to find a buyer.
Yeah, I agree. So,
and when I say profitable, yourself, like pretend like you're not getting paid. Add your salary back into profit. If you're profitable and your books are clean, probably gonna get acquired.
Yeah. So how do you know? I think everybody has a different view on how you know, because sometimes it's just like, I had a goal, I met that goal, I'm ready to sell. Like, sometimes it's black and white. Sometimes it's very emotional and very personal. Sometimes there's been a death in the family and you just don't have the time for the company anymore. I mean, the reasons span the diversity of the globe, I would say.
It's funny. It's when it was almost just realizing that I could go do something else. And it was just so much. And, I took it through the pandemic, and I was talking to, I think it was my son the other day, was about what that time was like. And it was my sister. And I was talking about how I got shingles. And I had shingles like really early and she goes, well, you got it really early. And it's like, yeah, it was kind of a stressful time. She said, really, why? Like, it was so lovely. We were all at home. I was like, I was trying to keep this freaking company alive. It was so hard.
You're
And it was
pivoting.
so hard to keep paying people. And I was just like, yeah, it was an
Right.
unbelievably stressful time. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I got you. It was
Yeah.
great.
That's why, like, I
Alright,
made that face when you say you took it through the pandemic. I was like, "Ooh, man.
Yeah, it was hard.
Wow."
So
Mhm.
the last kind of component of this conversation, I think it's the real heart of the conversation, which is this is a paradigm shift for founders. So in your experience, Veronica, how do we do this? What is the right way for us to think about this transition? How do we do it in a positive way? I do think that there's mourning, but I think that there's people that flounder in this stage. I think I probably floundered a little bit longer maybe than I should. And you know, so what's the right way for us to do this?
I mean, I think every opportunity is a little bit different. I know plenty of business owners who have sold, you know, not using a broker. They just like went ahead and bish bash boff, they're done. But typically, the way I like to do things like this is with the tasks and the timeline and everything laid out by somebody else who's more expert than I am. The reason, just to step back, the reason people hire us in the first place is because we know more than them about something. That's how a company is built, right? As far as services go.
Or they think
typically for
you do.
products as well. I think you do. But so in an ideal world. And so for me, like, just like I have a financial advisor because I don't have the time or the energy or the expertise to sit and just like watch the markets go up and down every single day. It's like, you know, take care of it. Fine for me. Same thing with buying and selling a house. You can do that privately. You don't need a real estate. But it's nice to have a realtor to just like handle it all for you and check the boxes. So for me, having a business broker was a really like big piece of mind because they just said, okay, here's what you do next. And then here's what you do next. And they just walked me through it step by step. So for me, a lot of the work was, okay, is this the moment? And the second I said, yes, this is the moment, I'm hiring you, then I could step back and just do the steps that they laid out for me. Get this document, have this conversation with your lawyer, go talk to your CPA, blah, 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 blah. From there, honestly, like, yeah, there was the ring around the rosy with prospective buyers. And that was kind of annoying, but I've got to be honest that in my gut, I kind of knew that they weren't the right buyer. Like there was always something kind of fishy, like looking back on it now that I know who bought my company and I know what that final relationship was like. I could see the difference. There was a clear difference there. But honestly, it's just like with when you have a business broker, it's like having a realtor. Well, they say like, this is a good deal. This is not a good deal. This person is set up to handle your business properly. This person is not. They're talking out there. Well, I can't. I'll beat myself.
I don't think ass is the bad word, Anthony.
Beat me.
I hope not. I hope not. I've called it a lot. So
You're talking out there. So
right.
Yeah, for me, it was more about the, like you're talking about, Chris, like knowing when I'm ready. And honestly, like if you're losing sleep, if you don't have time, if you feel there's a slippage, there's like this feeling of I can't keep up anymore for whatever reason. Even if it's just like I'm sick of it, like Anthony, you were saying, like I'm done. It's not even a bad feeling. I'm just like, it's slippage. I'm done. Then, yeah, start taking the next steps.
I mean, we've talked about this lots in the last several weeks, but I started breaking the company because I got bored. Like, I just started.
It's a form of slippage.
That's common.
Like,
yeah, that's common.
Yeah. And so it was fun for a while, and then when things started going well, like I was at my best when we were in crisis, and then when things got stable.
Adrenaline junkie, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's.
How many hang gliders have you been on lately?
I've done. God dang, you just right to the heart, Veronica. Right to the heart. All right, so we need to get to the speed round, but I want to sort of wrap this conversation up. There's two parts of this, which is determining when you're ready and then determining after the fact. Anthony, you and I just went through this. I think that both of us, relatively constructive, relatively, maybe some of it was good relative to that. I'm going to start with you, Anthony. What's the right steps for you to take post-exit to make sure that you don't rush into the next thing? The next thing, if you rush in because you just don't want to be bored, typically is not the best move, right? I think that that's true. So what's your advice, Anthony?
I hate giving advice. I'll tell you what I did, and you can decide whether or not that's the right thing for you. But I tried all kinds of different things. I was experimenting. I knew I was going to do something else, but I didn't know what that something else would be. So I went into build and prototype mode and tried all kinds of different things. Bought a really expensive 3D printer, like tried all kinds of fun stuff. Until I landed on where my next thing was going to be. So I didn't rush into the next thing. I rushed into learning and experimenting.
Veronica, what about you? What was your steps?
Yeah, I already had started building my next my consulting. I knew I wanted to be in consulting retirement for a while. I knew that's just like what I needed. So I had started that maybe a year before I actually sold the company, so that I had an overlap and then could just, steer my schedule and my income the way I wanted to afterwards.
In retrospect, was that the right move, or would you have done it differently?
I think it was the right move. So actually what pulled me out of consulting retirement was my startup 2 years ago. And that was through an urgency and a series of meeting the right people who knew about the right tech at the right time, et cetera. And having like my personal, I guess you would say, story interests align with that. But otherwise I was really quite happy just working with other entrepreneurs and helping them scale up. It was the right thing, as opposed to like leading something, because there's a very big difference, as you well know, when you are the face of a company. It's another brand name on you versus like when it's just you consulting. It's just you. It's just you.
You can just go and
you don't have to. Yeah.
I just want to poke on this a little bit. I know we got to get moving, Anthony, but this is such a big kind of moment, which is starting another full venture. And we've talked about this on the show and off air, Anthony, which is, you're right there. You're right in this phase where things are about to pop for you. But how do you know it's right versus just the thing that's there and in front of you? That's sometimes we're not always the best judge of that.
Who is? Who, if
like
not
know
me,
thyself,
who?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do I like shiny things, or do I actually like?
Yes.
Where's this decision coming from?
But Veronica, tell me your experience. Like, what was that thing that pulled you? And in my experience, when you're there, it's a gravitational pull. It's one of those things you can't not do. I know that's a double negative, but it's not one of those things like, this could be interesting. It's like, oh, I have to do this.
Yeah. There's actually a quote out of my favorite movie, Cloud Atlas, that she says at one point, "You've got to do what you can't not do." So your double negative is quotable. Don't worry about it.
I love it. Cloud Atlas
I
what you
honestly
can't not do. I love that. I love that quote. I don't think I've ever seen Cloud Atlas. I have to go watch it, but it's a great.
Oh man,
quote.
The Wachowski siblings, and it's a beautiful. What was the question? Why? Okay, so why?
Yeah, how do you know?
For me, what pulled me out of like consulting retirements was anger. So I moved to Germany and expected to have better healthcare, and I had better access to healthcare. That's true. I have wild access to healthcare. I can do anything I want whenever I want, as far as healthcare goes. It's phenomenal. And I thought that would change my health outlook as somebody with a chronic condition, and it didn't. And then I start peeling back the veneer, because that's what happens, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you're curious inherently. And so you start looking, you start like, what's going on here? I need to understand this further. And it's my health that's very important to me. And then starting to really realize just how very much women have been left out of the medical equation. And still to this day, I mean, the numbers are like, make you want to vom. So it was that plus I had a neighbor who was in crypto and in blockchain, and he started to explain to me what a decentralized autonomous organization is and how to tokenize incentives. And I started getting into economics, and I started to really see like if we just like pull a few different levers, we can maybe backpedal healthcare and capitalism backwards on itself and literally change the world. And that sounded really exciting. So it was anger as fuel plus this is shiny, fun, and interesting. And I put those together, had a startup for a couple of years. I just left it simply because of honestly funding, and the market is not great, especially in crypto right now. So
yeah, I was gonna say, crypto nerd, you're a crypto nerd.
I wouldn't say so. Actually, I'm a crypto purist. I'm a Satoshi purist, but
no, crypto nerd is a purist. A crypto bro.
Okay, I'm here for that. Yeah, I can live with that terminology. We're here for it. Yeah. Don't ask me how to trade, but ask me how to leverage in order to change the world. Yeah, we'll have a conversation.
Exactly. I love that. That's really good. Okay, Veronica, are you ready for the speed round? All right. Did you like her? It's a good graphic.
I'm a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Where's Regis? Let's go.
Who's Regis in this equation? I guess it would be me. Yeah. All right.
One of you is Regis. One of you is Vanna White.
There you go. That's definitely he's the eye candy in this show. All right. Sell your company 80% of the peak or hold and risk the crash.
I like risk.
Earnouts keep you chained to your company that's no longer yours. Is that fair or unfair?
I think it's fair.
Biggest red flag of founder isn't ready to sell.
I'm sorry, I got a visual in my head of somebody just crying really hard.
Yeah, well, one of the questions that I didn't choose to ask from the speed round is it okay to cry at closing? It
is okay to cry at closing. I would say the telltale sign is that you have no idea where any of your documentation is, and you can't rattle off your structures in a moment.
Fair point. Would you rather sell too early or too late?
I'd rather sell too early.
Name the worst advice that people give founders about selling their company.
Just do it.
First offer.
Because it's not easy.
I'll take a step. I know. I've seen this a lot. There's a lot, but the one I would say on that, Chris, is throwing out numbers of what their company is worth. They don't know.
I don't know. Nobody knows.
They don't know.
Turns out the valuation. There's this entire science called valuation that's all bullshit because look at that.
Yes. Oh, and you're gonna hear a different formula from absolutely every single expert that you involve in the sale process.
Yep.
It's great. I love the fact that it becomes a science because it's not. It's a full art. Deep dive resources. One of my favorite all-time books, Reboot: Leadership and the Art of Growing Up by Jerry Colonna. Love that book. Got to meet Jerry Colonna. He's incredible. And Finish Big: How Great Entrepreneurs Exit Their Companies on Top by Bo Burlingham. However, we're going to go talk to you, Veronica. I just pulled up your website. You look so impressive. Your bangs look incredible in these. Where can we go to find you? What can we find on your website?
You can find my Substack where I talk about paradigm shifts, including in business. My socials, if you want to follow me there and listen to some of my ridiculous banter and more dad jokes, honestly, they're there. My book, which is about the high-tech revolution and a major paradigm shift, which I'm about to revamp because, hey, we're in another one. It's the AI revolution right now. If you want my brain involved in your stuff, you can hire me to coach, but that's only if you really want to.
Wonderful sales pitch.
Exactly. I feel like I should be pitching you.
It's a soft shoe sell.
If you want to buy stuff, I might have something to sell. Maybe not. Only if you want to.
I would say, Veronica, this has been an unbelievably great episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's the afternoon, so you didn't have to get up early. I guess it's not that hard, really.
No, yeah, the sun's out for me.
Yeah, exactly. What time is it in Germany right now?
It's almost 4 p.m.
Yeah, so that's like Stein time.
Perfect.
Like you were.
Perfect
It's
time.
twin time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you
It is
everybody
really
for listening.
incredible.
I do want to make an announcement for Chris. Chris is starting his own podcast. He's ripping us off a little bit. He's calling it How to Flounder. But for those of you that are listening now, visit us at howtofounder.com, where you can connect with us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify channels. Please hit that like button and subscribe button for us, because you, our listeners, Chris, Veronica, you may not know this, they're the pioneers of economic prosperity, and we're just grateful to be there along the way. All right, everybody. Thanks. Take care, guys. Thanks, Veronica. Bye.
Bye.